Chris?
Well, in sticking with the Blizzard news, Blizzard announced that Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 have been delayed. And they
lost one of their leaders.
Yes, yeah, they did lose a lead, but it does go down later on in this article. It talks about like they've been dealing with a lot of stuff, and on top of that, they had new leads of a lot of these different properties thrust in, and they're having to figure all that out. Plus this one that just left. But the thing is that a lot of these articles that have come out today have said that it's being delayed to 2023. Well, if you read the statement, they don't actually say that. They said that we're just delaying it for a later launch on both of these properties.
Oh, okay.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
Did we know when they were going to launch in the first place?
It was very heavily assumed that Overwatch 2 was, in particular, was going to be in 2022 because they'd been doing all these previews of late of it and a lot of different things. And they had said that Overwatch League next year is going to be playing on a version of Overwatch 2. So it was very heavily implied that it was going to be next year, but it never been said.
It's just a weird announcement to me when it's like, hey, when's Overwatch 2 coming out? And you're like, we're not saying yet. You're like, oh, okay, cool. And you're like, hey, guys, we're delaying Overwatch 2. And you're like, well, but we don't know. That seems like such a weird announcement. Like, did we know when Diablo 4 was coming? Like, I didn't think Diablo 4 was even close to being done.
Yeah.
I think that we thought Overwatch 2 was going to come sooner than later just because we knew that the Overwatch League next year was going to be playing on Overwatch 2.
Gotcha.
Which meant, okay, they're probably going to start rolling out a beta pretty soon. So I think that made people think, all right, maybe spring-ish, we'll get Overwatch 2 or at least an announcement, maybe somewhere at the latest or whatever. And so maybe they're just saying, not so fast.
Yeah. And it looks like, according to this story, at least on Polygon, that the Overwatch League is still going to be playing on an early build of 2.
Which is weird. I thought it was weird. I kind of understood it, but I thought it was weird that they're like, oh, wait, Overwatch 2 is going to be playing, or Blizzard, Overwatch League is going to be playing Overwatch 2 next season, but yet we still hadn't heard anything about, like you were saying, which again, that only added to, people were already kind of anticipating, it's probably going to be 2021. And I think when that announcement was made, that fervor just went up higher that, oh my gosh, it's going to be 2022. So now to say that it's being delayed, and again, everybody's taking that as 2023. I've not seen anything anywhere, not in this article or in the other ones that I looked at, where Blizzard themselves explicitly said delay to 2023. They are just saying a later launch for both of these titles.
Yeah.
And Diablo, I feel like, while it's a bummer, Diablo is one of those games I feel like always takes forever. So that almost isn't even super surprising to me. But the Overwatch 2 one, again, even though to your point, we've never been given a hard date, I feel like there's been more scrutiny on Overwatch than there has been on Diablo 4.
I think I'm all for delaying a game if it needs to be delayed. Like I've always been for that. But the more it gets delayed, because, remember, Echo was supposed to be the last new character before Overwatch 2 came out. She was supposed to be the final one, and then Overwatch 2 around the corner, and that kept getting delayed. It just makes me really concerned for OG Overwatch. Like, can it withstand? Can the game
another
last? Yeah, with maybe we've had a map or two, a deathmatch map or two, but they're focusing on Overwatch 2, which again they should, but I feel like it's going to really try people's patience with. Yeah, this game, all right, something I don't know, going to be a rough year
sledding
or so.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, and we know these guys take their time. I mean, Diablo 3 came out in 2012. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
It's 2021. And I feel like, and I don't remember, and I haven't followed Diablo 4 closely, but I didn't feel like we saw any gameplay. I know we saw the cinematic for sure, but I don't know that we saw gameplay of. And so, again, it's just a strange announcement to me to say, hey, you guys know that thing that you didn't know when it was coming? It's coming even later than you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those classic situations where they're having to set expectations because the internet and the world has set the expectation already. And they're like, even though we didn't set this, we have to act as though it is the expectation. So we have to deal with that.
Did they, and I don't remember in that article that we're going off of if they mentioned whether or not the Overwatch League, because they'll be playing on the Overwatch 2, will they be playing the new characters as well?
It just said an early build of the game.
Yeah, I've not heard, it didn't say in here, and I've not read anywhere else that they would be have access to any new characters that we who are playing Overwatch, the original one.
And I would think they would want to introduce those anyway, not just in an Overwatch League game. Like they want the backstories. They want, hey, here's the next character. They want to roll it out in a way that makes sense. But honestly, you raised go ahead.
I was going to say, I think more than anything, more than characters or the new kind of look of the characters or any of that stuff, it's really just about getting Overwatch Leagues, the new 5v5 system, not only them used to it, but that out thrust in front of everybody and be like, this is how it works now so that people are prepared for it. I think that's the main pusher for why Overwatch League is getting to Overwatch 2 before everybody else, even before this information.
Quick question.
Fast answer.
Are they going to ruin Overwatch?
Yes. No, I don't know.
Yes.
I have no idea. I was trying to give you a fast answer.
Well, I was just going to say, like,
what do you mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about specifically? Having Overwatch 2 be on Overwatch League, or what? What do you mean? Is what going to ruin it? I'm just
worried.
Oh yeah. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just worried about the whole thing. Like, I feel like, and listen, I mean, you know, we all got used to when they started assigning us, you know, hey, only 2 of each thing. And now it's going to be only 2 of each thing and 1 of one thing, right? As it goes down to 5v5. Right. And then, I don't know, just with these weird announcements, it feels like, I think they're about to jack this up. That's what it always makes me feel like. I mean, when stuff like just...
It's very possible.
I just don't have... Yeah. Oh man, it scares me, man.
I don't know, just because it's gone through so many pretty big changes already, and I didn't play from the beginning. So when people tell me, "Hey, quick play, it used to be you could have 6 Symmetras on a team," and I would like, "What?" So it's so I assume if I had been playing then and I liked that, when they said, "Hey, 1 character per team," I would have been like, "That's a huge." So they've gone through some pretty big changes already, and I think this is just going to be another. It's just that it's going to be such a change going down to 5, and that everyone's been retooled and rebalanced and do different things. I just think it's going to be a big learning curve.
So
I don't want them to.
Is that your question? Is that like more the crux of your question, Ed? I mean, Gabe, where you think the 5v5, or is it more all the delay stuff and all that is what you're thinking? Or
the delay stuff obviously scares me. The delay stuff, it's the quiet delay, right? And so it's not like a Last of Us delay. It's not like a Final Fantasy VII delay. It doesn't feel like that. It feels quiet, and we don't know anything anyway. They've been very mum about most things. So you're like, and then the 5v5 thing does scare me just a little bit, like taking it down to 5. I know we'll get used to it and it'll be fine, but like I can't think off the top of my head something that's 5v5. But like, I guess it'll be fine, but it makes me think, like, does that mean the maps are going to be smaller too? And I don't know. It just all scares me. Cause like Ed's saying, with everybody being retooled and everything too, you're like, man, things are pretty sweet. Like, the game's really good as it is. And
it's
like,
in a good spot.
If you go mess with too much, you're like, you look up. I
agree.
I mean, think about, like, to have that huge, they're going to have a huge roster unless they start killing people off.
Symmetra.
And it can only be 5v5. Like,
Outback.
It just scares me.
I hate to say I liked it better because I just don't like that mindset.
Yeah.
But I will say I miss, and again, it's a weird time at Blizzard. There's a lot going on that can also affect things. But I miss Jeff Kaplan because I felt like he was very communicative. And Overwatch has a lot lately said, hey, more information coming soon. We're going to focus on keeping you guys informed. And I feel like they haven't said anything. And I feel like Jeff was really good at even if he didn't tell us anything, checking in. And that's one thing I miss.
Or sitting there for 10 hours.
Yeah, I'll take that too. Put it on a Christmas video for me.
Yeah,
so I came into this late, and I came into Overwatch late, and obviously, but I really feel like I don't know how they're going to transition to 2 to the point where I'm going to like completely forget about the original Overwatch. Because I feel like they're adding things great, but can't they just roll that out in this Overwatch, and it doesn't have to be a 2?
That's what Chris has always said.
I've said that too. I keep thinking that from day one. Like, why are we doing a 2? Like when I was doing the Halloween event, I was having so much fun. And, Ed, I pop on your stream every once in a while, and one of your go-tos has always been to go back to Overwatch, and I see you playing it all the time. There is longevity far beyond. I think, you were questioning, are they going to be able to handle another year delay for Overwatch 2? Absolutely. I think this game has long legs because they've rolled things out over time. They've rolled characters out over time. There's so many heroes. I have never played Echo once. The whole time, and she's been the most recent hero, probably because I just stick to my guns and I know I would completely screw her up. But at the same time, it's like, all right, if you want to roll out 5v5, roll it out in the game. If we have new maps, great. If we have different types of games to play, roll them out in. We don't need to make a 2 announcement. And I think you're right, Gabe. I think they're going to screw this up, and the longer they keep delaying it, the more people will be like, Overwatch 2, I don't care.
I think the bigger issue with them potentially screwing it up, not necessarily the 5v5, because while there hasn't been, I can't think of another game off the top, like for instance, Call of Duty's been 6v6 for a long time, but competitive Call of Duty has gone back and forth between being 5 and 4, and a lot of people do tournaments and things like that. That kinds of stuff I feel like happens in the FPS world. So I'm not concerned so much about that. Like, there's definitely going to be people who don't like it. I don't know that I'm going to like it, because I actually have, just through happenstance, gotten to the point where I play as tank a lot, but it's a lot harder when you're the only tank to just like be the anchor of that team. And so that's a little bit worrying for me as a person who plays tank super often. But, I'll give it a go. I think the problem, what's potentially going to be the most problematic for Overwatch, is to the point that Ed was making earlier. They have told us, at least back then, no new characters until Overwatch 2 drops. And in theory, we weren't even getting new maps. Now, like Ed mentioned, we have gotten a couple deathmatch maps, but deathmatch is also not nearly as popular as just your traditional quick play style games. So we've not gotten any of those. And because so many of those things are coming to Overwatch 1 as well, that's where I kind of go to Tim's camp in some sense in this, like, but for this time now, if 5v5, you're planting your flag on that hill, roll that out now, because you're going to have the exact same thing in both versions because they're going to play together. So like, why are we having to wait till Overwatch 2 drops? And maybe we're not going to have to, but it's like they need the content injection, because that's been Overwatch's biggest problem, is they don't have enough new stuff, and the characters for a long time were what the new thing was that was keeping it afloat, but now even that's come dry. So it's like,
yeah, it's really weird too, because they had, they have that experimental card that I'll pop on every once in a while, where it's like, here are some things that might happen, not necessarily, but you can play them like this. And usually about 90% of those things go through to the live game. And 2 weeks ago, they had a lot of stuff on the experimental card that was like, oh, wow, this is different. And so a lot of the speculation was, are they getting ready to warm us up for Overwatch 2 and those changes that are coming? And then none of them actually went through. And Blizzard was like, hey, we didn't mean to. That's weird that you guys would assume that these changes were going to go through, when on average about 90% of them go through. And so it was just kind of like, what are you guys doing over there?
Yeah.
I think too, I wonder, I don't know this, and I don't know anybody over there, but I too wonder if they're back in office yet. I would imagine they're not. And, to hear Stancil, and I've talked to some other people about it, it's just real tough to do those jobs
I bet.
remote.
Oh,
you can do it. It's just slow. And sending those files back and forth and VPN this and sign into this. And you can't just like, throw it on a hard drive and take it over to somebody's desk. And so I think that's probably slowed down a lot of this too, as well as the leadership changes, as well as all the drama that came out. And so it's just like, at the end of the day, like, I get it. I'm just worried.
Yeah.
Even more so.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I have to remind myself of too, is that it's a process that I do not understand. And there's a lot that goes into it. Like anymore now I finish a game and the credits are longer than, they rival the Lord of the Rings extended version credits.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of people working on these games that doing stuff I don't understand. And so it's easy for me to forget that and be like, but the stuff I would like it now, please. And I just have to remind myself that I don't know what's going on.
That's right.
It's stuff I don't understand.
Yes, that's right.